welcome back to my channel. In this video we're going to be doing a rosemary hand and foot scrub. I know in our last video we did the foot soak detox. This is the perfect scrub to follow that up with. So I am going to start with what you're going to need. So we are going to use Epsom salt for this scrub. We're actually going to be using 1 ounce or 2 tablespoons of Epsom salt. I've actually put 1 tablespoon in this and 1 tablespoon in this glass, and that will be 1 ounce total for those. I'm also going to be using 1 tablespoon of coconut oil. I'm going to be using 1 tablespoon of sweet almond oil. And I'm going to actually be using the plant wax candelilla. And this is going to be a half a teaspoon, a pinch, very small. The reason why we're putting wax into this scrub is a lot of times when you do a homemade scrub with just the oils and the salt, it actually is very liquidy and it tends to fall apart. So just adding a little bit of some candelilla wax allows it to bind together and it's not so crummy. For the essential oil, I have chosen to use rosemary for this scrub. Now, down below in the descriptions, I'm going to leave a link below of where you can purchase some of these products. I know some people have mentioned they wanted to know where you can get these ingredients. I typically use one main site. There are a few others I use, but for the ingredients I'm using today, I will put that right there down below so you know where to get them. Not only do I get my products from this company, I also get my labels and most of my jars that I store my products in. So, and if you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask me. We are going to be using a double boiler for this because we are going to be heating up the oil, the coconut oil, the sweet almond oil, and we're going to also be heating up the candelilla wax, and then we're going to be adding it to our salt. And the reason why we have 2 of them is one of them we're going to add to the salt while it's still hot, and the second one will be added as it's cooling when we finally add the essential oils in. So I'm going to show you how this is done. Let's get started. First, we're going to start by adding half of a teaspoon of candelilla wax. This is so it binds together. We're going to allow that to melt before we add in the coconut oil. Now you can see that the candelilla wax has melted almost completely all the way. So now is a good time to add in your 1 tablespoon of coconut oil. Get it all out. We'll allow that to melt, which will melt pretty quickly. So we're going to go right ahead and just grab the sweet almond oil to get ready to put 1 tablespoon of sweet almond oil in there. Alright, we're going to be adding in 1 tablespoon of sweet almond oil. And once that coconut oil melts completely down, we'll be able to shut off the burner, and then we're going to pour it into our 3rd glass jar. So, like I said, once it's all completely melted, we're just going to pour it into this glass bowl. And then we'll get ready to add the Epsom salt. Now, while our oil is still hot, we're going to be adding 1 of the glass bowls, which is 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt. We're going to allow that to mix really well in there. Now, if you notice, I'm actually not using any preservatives in any of my mixes, and that is because they are oil-based. But something you should know is that foot scrub, you know, it's going to be optional whether you want to put a preservative in here or not, and the reason being is that as an oil-based product, it does not need a preservative, but because a foot scrub or any kind of scrub is used with water or near water, or sometimes when we put our hands in the jar to pull some out, our hands could be wet. Water can contaminate this and over time shorten the lifespan of your product and eventually grow bacteria or mold inside of it. So when you have an oil-based scrub that doesn't have any preservatives in it, you want to make sure that you use a stick or a spatula to remove the product so that you're not getting wet, so that it lasts. If you plan on keeping this anywhere by a shower, or you plan on, or potentially you know it may get wet, then your best bet would be to find a naturally organic preservative to keep your product as natural as possible. Now we're going to allow this to cool, and once it cools a little bit, we will be able to add the 2nd tablespoon of Epsom salt and our essential oil. Now that we've allowed it to cool for a little while, you'll notice that it's still slightly warm, but it almost looks like a gel. When you move it around, kind of crease out all the sides. So now would be a good time to add the other half tablespoon of Epsom salt. And then we're going to mix that in nicely. Make sure all little pieces are inside. We're going to add approximately 4 to 5 drops of rosemary. Rosemary is very strong, so you do not need a lot. Okay. So we mix that all in together. Ooh, I can smell the rosemary. Let it cool for a few more minutes before we add it to our jar that we're going to keep it. Okay, while it is almost completely cooled down, you can always tell the cooler it gets because the less runnier it ends up being, as you can see. So I measure it into these jars that I have. So we're going to turn it on. This is a 2-ounce jar, but I want to make sure that we get 2 ounces in there. And usually by this recipe, it should make about 2 ounces, a little bit over. And like I said earlier, I made the foot soak detox with you guys last time, and this is a good follow-up for that. And after you've done your foot soak detox and your scrub, I said it would be good to do a cream. So please like this video, share it to anyone else you know who would love to make their own scrub, and then of course subscribe to my channel, and that way you can see any future videos that are coming out, like our foot cream. Okay, so now that it is in the jar, we can close that up. Wipe all my fingers of the residue. And like I said earlier, I get all my labels and my jars from this one site I'm going to link in the description below. But these are the labels that I made for my hand and foot scrub. If you can see it, there you go. So we're going to just place those on there. And now my product is ready to use, to give to someone as a gift, or whatever I'd like to do. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great day.